What's up? It's your boy Crack and we are back for another tutorial of WoW on a controller. Let's get into it. This is Tessaltina, my warrior. I've been playing her since May. Raided quite a lot, acquiring a hefty amount of gear, including this beautiful Zulian tiger and a bunch of other best in slot pieces. I raided Naxxramas with her. I got some decent parses, nothing insane, nothing world class, but clearly above average. The point isn't to flex parses, it's just to prove that you can perform on a controller and that it can be really fun and a refreshing way to experience the game you already know. The first thing you're gonna do is download console port. Once it's installed, your interface should look like this. I'll be honest, I don't like this. There is a slightly modified version if you press the little I with the X, and it's even worse. Like, it does feel like anxiety to me. It doesn't snap into place like the other one. If you press the action bar configuration and you go to layout, you scroll down to crossbar triple, and you're gonna end up with an interface that is much cleaner to my eye and a more intuitive way to learn a new character, because if you look at the screen, you should be able to play by the eye. First thing he's gonna do is unbind every single keybind you have and start from the bottom. I always leave jump on X because jumping is quite important in World of Warcraft, because if you want to parkour, jump is important. Second thing to know is, what are your modifiers? Your first modifier is going to be L1, and it's going to bring you to the right tab, and L2 is going to bring you to the left tab. They act like Control and Alt, and if you press both at the same time, you end up with another modifier. We'll talk about that a little bit later. You also have R1 and R2, which have their own keybind. If you press R1 or L2, you're gonna have like a total of 6 keybind with those 2 buttons. At the end of the day, you end up with about 32 keybinds plus 12 if you add up the L1 and L2 combo. Which I didn't bother key binding, and we won't really talk about in this tutorial because it's more advanced stuff. We'll keep to a 32 key bind setup, which should be more than enough for most classes. For warrior, it was, I'd say, more than enough for me, more than enough to have the parses I showed you and to have a lot of fun in PvP. If you want, you can fiddle with bidding. The next important thing is targeting. In this setup, targeting used the same button as one of the modifier, which might sound weird at first, but if you tap L2 quickly while aiming your character toward your enemy using the cone in front of you, it will target the enemy. It works like tap targeting, but directional. It requires a little bit of fiddling to understand how to not swap target, let's say if you're in PvP, and continue attacking. Like you can see here, I'm not starting to attack when I press my heroic strike. This is why in the macros we need to include a start attack. Now let's talk macros. If you play a warrior, and especially if you play a warrior on a controller, you need macros. You need to macro stance switching into most of your abilities, or at least your key abilities. I'm going to link a PDF in the description with all the macros, so you don't need to pause the video constantly. Just refer to the PDF. We're gonna start with heroic strike, and the last line is gonna be start attack, just so we start attacking every time we press the button. The next one is gonna be mortal strike. I see that we don't have a show tooltip here. The show tooltip will allow you to see your cooldowns, so don't forget to put those in your macros. The good thing is, if you switch stance, the macros are gonna stay there. If you put a normal ability and you swap stances, the keybind won't stay there. So it could be a good thing, most of the time it's a bad thing. Next one is gonna be cleave, then we're gonna go into whirlwind, and keep going on until your screen look a little bit like this. We have our berserker rage, our charge intercept, a lip shout, whirlwind, execute, sweeping strikes, overpower. We're gonna add a racial to one of them, our modifier. You can see that R1 and R2 are not assign yet. We're gonna do that in a second. I'm gonna add my mount to my 3 stances. Once that's done, we're gonna have piercing owl in all the stances because it's a very useful thing to have, specifically in PvP. Next one is gonna be stance swap button, which is gonna be the down arrow. Our battle stance is going to bring us to defensive stance, which is going to bring us to disarm, the disarm macro. But the berserker stance is going to bring us back to battle stance. So it creates a rotation like this. If you need to go to berserker stance, you press right for whirlwind. If you don't have the rage, it's just going to go straight to whirlwind. And otherwise you can press the intercept macro. There's several ways to swap stance and not necessarily spend time pressing a button you don't need. Hamstring, which is going to be added to berserker stance and battle stance, and because you cannot hamstring in defensive stance, we're going to add revenge there that you cannot use in other stance. So R2 is a situational stance dependent ability. For that we need the Sunder macro because we want a start attack in it, which is going to be our first ability we press all the time because we're good boys. Next is going to be Pummel, which require a macro because you want to have your stance switch in it so you can pummel from battle stance or from defensive stance. So you built in your macro, the stance swap, and so on, to end up with something like this. The empty slots you see, for the L2 up arrow, I put Rage Potion. I use Lip on the L2 right arrow. The L2 R2, which is your 2 triggers, is my big cooldown, whether it is Retaliation, Wreck, or Shield Wall. And then I leave spaces for trinkets. My L2 and X is gonna be my Diamond Flask. I'm gonna add a JPEG of my abilities keybinded to the stances. You will be able to see every stances with every ability like you can see right now. Last thing before we finish, I would make sure to plan at least 12 hours to get used to this setup before you plan anything important. If you raid with a guild, don't go in there with this setup and try to parse or like carry your own weight, because they're gonna think you suck at the game. So I would recommend doing this while you level a new character, or if you're already 60, just go in Battleground and get your ass kicked for several hours, or go grind mobs, and you're gonna get used to your own setup and your combo. I designed this one in a combo mentality. We will discuss that in the next one. Alright, that's gonna be it for this one. Thank you guys for watching and thank you for your attention. I'll be coming back very soon with part 2, a more advanced tutorial where we will go in deep. We'll explain how to map custom buttons and how to use the ring system to handle more occasional keybinds like eating food and using items, the utility stuff, so you can rely even less on a mouse or not need one at all. This video was a beginner tutorial. I really hope you enjoy it, and more importantly, I hope it helps you get started on your journey of playing World of Warcraft on a controller. If you have any questions, or if you want me to cover something specific in part 2, let me know in the comment. Smash like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out!